I'm Mason Mount. You're listening to the London is Blue podcast.
All right, well, we've avoided talking about it for this long, so it's probably about time to get into a little bit of conversation around the officiating. I'm going to tee it off by taking two comments from players because, again, as supporters, especially ones that are supporters of the team, we potentially can wear some blue-tinted glasses from time to time. Former Chelsea player, you may know him, John Terry on Instagram, calling it never a second yellow. Surely that was a foul on Christensen build up to the goal. Question mark. And then tomato, angry face emoji. And then Declan Rice, potential future Chelsea player. Again, former Chelsea Academy player, current West Ham player of the season. Some of the decisions of this game today, ... So, Nick, which questionable decision, statement around officiating, where do you want to lead in? And then we'll go to Naz to give us a little bit more of an objective view around his opinion on it. Let's get the passion first.
So I want to say, first and foremost, I don't, much like Frank Lampard, I don't believe Chelsea were good enough to win the game outright yesterday, right? I think Chelsea's best case scenario, if officiating would have been relatively even on both sides, is probably to win it in penalties. And, I think that's just kind of how it might have gone. That being said, Anthony Taylor absolutely had an incredibly horrible performance. I mean, the guy was not on the pace. Even simple things like being in position to make calls, running along, kind of some of the main channels where action was happening, awful. He blew some incredibly big decisions, Naz. I mean, there's no doubt about it yesterday. There are a handful that we're going to point out. I think the one that most people were pointing out that he was actually in position for was the Bellerin foul on Christensen that led to Aubameyang's second goal, being kind of an obvious call. If that happens anywhere else on the pitch, not leading up to the goal, it's a foul and it's a free kick for Chelsea. So I don't know how your neutral take on this was as a journalist, but it really felt like he was doing everything he could to gift Arsenal the game yesterday from my perspective.
Yeah, I think that definitely Arsenal were favoured with the decisions. Not obviously not on purpose. I think I trust him and I trust English officiating. The best thing about the Premier League is that they are honest officials. Sometimes they're just bad, and sometimes they're bad against your team, not in their favour. So, that's the way I see it. But the Bellerin one, yeah, probably a foul, but I can see how you might miss that. I can see how you might think it's a 50-50, but really Christensen won the ball and Bellerin continued into him and actually did a bit of damage, and Christensen did well to get up after that. But, you can miss those. But the Kovacic one was just so poor. That was the real one. And I think that was a game-changing moment because Chelsea were on the ascendancy again. They'd finally got himself going. And, Kovacic is a bit of a full-blooded character, and we've seen it in recent weeks. I love that about him. But he's been on the end of some bad decisions because the Liverpool one as well, the free kick that he gave away there was bad. And, again, it was basically, and we've got to, we blame Anthony Taylor, but we've got to blame Xhaka as well, Granit Xhaka. His reaction was pure gamesmanship. It is completely a move to get your fellow professional sent off. There was absolutely no way that was a foul. And, Mount got a yellow card as well in similar circumstances, which was, again, I think that was Bellerin again, and I think that was just pure professionalism. But that is what it takes to win at this level. Sometimes, in finals, you just find whatever you can to win. And maybe Chelsea are a bit guilty of being naive. And I remember the sort of Lampard generation of Chelsea player, Jose Mourinho, really brought it in. The gamesmanship. Chelsea were the best, second to none. Shirt pulling, diving. I mean, I'm not being hard. Obviously, they were the best team in England as well, but that's part of winning. Everything. You win at all costs. This is the highest level of the game. It is very difficult. And there was nothing between the teams, really, except a bit of refereeing decision, luck. Part of it was luck. And, maybe Aubameyang's finishing. Those are the things that were against Chelsea. And maybe, you use that sort of dark arts, we call it. Using the dark arts is fine. Yeah. I'm sure when you've got a player like that, you love him and everyone else hates him. That's fine. I mean, look at Bruno Fernandes. He does it all the time for Man United. So winners do have the dark arts, and I think that Chelsea were a bit of a victim of Arsenal's dark arts, which is probably a side that wasn't really talked about on Twitter. Anthony Taylor was the scapegoat, but you've got to look at Xhaka's reaction, man.
He was horrible. Xhaka, actually, you could argue both yellows on Kovacic were actually fouls by Xhaka on Kovacic, which is incredible. I mean, it is incredible, and it's a rule change that I think most people are calling out, to move forward next year, that VAR on a second yellow, on a sending off, on a crucial game moment like that should be able to, at the very least, send the referee over to the monitor. I think the thing that's blown my mind this year about VAR is you have the pitch side monitor. Even in the MLS, the referees use the pitch side monitor. Anthony Taylor refused to do anything about it yesterday, which was a real bummer. But, I kind of look at the dark arts piece that you just said, because Man City get away with the dark arts a lot because they play beautiful football. Where did Arteta learn his managerial trade? Man City under Pep Guardiola. I think there is going to be a lot more of that, Dan, coming from Arsenal in future years, because it was obvious today that they were just out for that kind of a thing.
Well, tactical fouling is a part of the game. We talk about Pep's teams, and Pep is a master at this. Mourinho has done a really great job. I mean, you look at how he was able to sick Herrera on Hazard in many matches when he was at United, and just knew how to play the more physical
disrupt
side
the
of the
flow.
game. Yeah. I think I would have been less upset if our Chelsea team actually was full of this group of bastards who was super physical, and we're going in on these challenges really tough, and we're making it difficult. But when you saw some of the theatrics, what we will call them, Tierney going down with a light touch from Zuma, which actually jump started the goal that with the free kick. All of these things are just, we need a side that is drilled to be a little bit more tougher mentally, a little bit more willing physically, and if you know that you're going to get called anyway, well, then up the physicality. I mean, I think that was the thing. We kind of got punched in the mouth, and we just never went back to kind of try to go blow to blow. We really were trying to kind of play it safe. And I think maybe a couple of things when you kind of see that, either need to kind of get the direction, be like, all right, let's play to what the match actually is, or start taking the precautions, like maybe pulling Kovacic off when he was on that yellow and riding it, and putting someone else in like Barkley. Even though we were all wondering why Conte didn't come in, we found out later it was injury. But Naz, I think that was the thing where it's going against you. Don't allow bad officiating to make it worse for you if you can see the writing on the wall. And so I thought, I couldn't believe that Kovacic remained in the game riding that yellow as long as he did from Lampard.
Yeah, it could be a mistake. Easy to say with hindsight, but I think that that's one where maybe Chelsea shots in the foot is one of the areas. We can talk all we want about officiating, but the dark arts are part of the game. We all know it, unfortunately, and we also know that that's part of the battle. It's like a mind games on the pitch. One-on-one duel, Kovacic versus Xhaka. Kovacic is a better player than Xhaka, in my opinion, in almost every way. But Xhaka got the better of him just with what he did. So fair enough. That's a final. It doesn't matter. Arsenal fans won't be thinking about this. They won't be talking about this. They'll be just talking about, oh, we won the final, well done Xhaka, blah blah blah. So that's how these games go. And I think that Chelsea just don't have anyone who's a specialist in this. I remember N'Golo Kante did it quite masterfully actually against Jack Grealish in the Villa win. And Jack Grealish had absolutely not a sniff against Chelsea in the first game after Project Restart, and it was Kante turning bad, and I love that. And you rarely see performances like that from a midfielder. You rarely see a Chelsea player diving. I can't even remember a dive from a Chelsea player. Maybe Jorginho is the biggest cheater in the squad. He gets a lot of yellow cards, but he's not very good at it because he gets booked so often.
Was there a Mishi one that was pretty bad? I feel like Mishi had one that was quite terrible, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah. Mishi doesn't play, so I forgot what he does.
Three final points on this. First, Anthony Taylor refereeing this final. on, I guess, a professional merit scholarship. It made no sense to me whatsoever. He refereed the 2017 final where the Alexis handball was not called, and it was a ridiculous decision as he was right. It's a famous picture. He's right in front of it. And Alexis is like this. I just don't understand why he was in the final in the first place. Second thing is VAR did nothing yesterday. And you could argue there were plenty of opportunities for it to step in. The Martinez handball opportunity outside of the box is a major moment that few people were talking about after the game. And we never even saw a replay of it. There wasn't even a conclusive replay unless you rewound the match footage, but we didn't get to see the line or anything like that. The third point to me, though, is when you look at the kind of the big moments in the match. Typically, an FA Cup has a handful. FA Cup final, it's a handful of these big moments. Chelsea were just on the wrong end of all of them. I mean, it's statistically improbable that you're going to be on the wrong side of every major decision that kind of happens in a match. And along with the dark arts, we kind of called this out at the beginning. I think Arsenal had 1 yellow card. So again, you just look at how everything went, and it was just not going to be our day. And it was only 2-1 as a final. So I think Chelsea could feel massively aggrieved. They should, because it was a horrible officiating performance. But you might have expected the scoreline to be 3-4-1, with all the stuff that went against us. And so I think 2-1 is probably still right, but I just wish you had some fair officiating in the match.
Well, that's not meant to be when Anthony Taylor is in an FA Cup final, apparently, Nick. But again,
he should never be again, by the way. He should never referee that final ever again. I don't care who the teams are. He's not up for it. He's not a big match referee. He doesn't have the character to do it. And I think some of the tough tackles that went in yesterday were a point of reference for how he lost control early in the game. So understand that.
We know he's off the Chelsea Christmas card list. He has moved to the top of Arsenal's. Anthony Taylor,
man of the match.
Never see you for the fact that we don't have to worry about him as a match official for about 8 weeks here is very nice. So we can kind of put that to bed there.